What's going on, guys? Joey Franzo here with Flex Training Systems, and today I'm kind of answering a question. This person did not specifically ask for me to make a video on it, but I thought it'd be very useful to not only answer his question, but to, share with you guys, because maybe you might be going through a similar situation. But essentially, this lifter, so one of my newer lifters, he's been doing MMA for, I guess, as long as that's his sport before powerlifting. And when he started with me, he made note that he did MMA training, but the severity of that I was unsure. I assumed it was just like a cardio type deal, because the way that he was behaving in training was great. He was killing it. And I didn't, you wouldn't be able to tell really. But after it was late in the week, and after one of his bench days, he sent me his videos, and I said, these are all really, really easy, even for the weight that was given. This is like a joke, or the RPE that was given. And he said, I would have gone up, but my pecs were hurting. And I was like, is that from... If that's from training, I can adjust it, which seemed kind of funny to me because, especially in the beginning, I'm very conservative with what I give people in terms of just the amount that they're doing. And he said it wasn't from training, it was from my MMA training. And I was like, what? And, obviously when you're punching, that's a ballistic movement. And if there's already some breakdown and you're hitting things, that's probably just going to make you even more sore. So he explained to me how his MMA training is very important to him, and it's not something that he wants to give up, and it's not something that I don't even want him to give it up. But the type of training that you would do for MMA is very, very different than what you would do in powerlifting. You're literally pulling your physiology in two separate directions. If you look at the way elite level powerlifters look, and you look at MMA fighters, they look very different, like vastly different. So typically what happens, and it doesn't necessarily have to be MMA, it could be like basketball, football to a lesser extent, soccer, running, cross country, whatever you do that involves a lot of cardio. Anything that doesn't require you to be big and strong, it's going to conflict with your powerlifting training and take from your recovery. Now, there are genetic freaks out there that can get away with, doing stuff like that. If you look at, in the NFL, there are guys that freaking, they're running sprints, all the time, and they're still strong as fuck in the weight room. Granted, sprinting and lifting, it's a very similar type of, it's all out for a short amount of time. So it's anaerobic as opposed to aerobic, just steady state, long periods of time, So, it's still football practice goes a very long time. I remember, my practices used to be from literally we would start lifting at 2:30 and we wouldn't go home till 7:30, sometimes 8. So it's crazy. Some of the genetic freaks that can get away with both. So I told him, going back to my lifter, I said, I don't want you to quit your MMA training, but when we begin to peak and when the training needs to be more demanding in order for you to improve, I think it would behoove you, if the goal is at this particular time to have the best total that you can have, to dial back on your MMA training maybe to once or twice a week, to where there's not as much interference. And he, said to me, I'm okay with that. I had a fight coming up, and I was going to be training 6 days a week and trying to, manage powerlifting also, which is insane that he would even think to do that. But the fight got canceled, so I think he's going to reduce his MMA training, which means we can gain ground in powerlifting. So in a sense, he's balancing his priorities. If the goal is powerlifting, then you need to do what you need to do to maximize your recovery for powerlifting. If the goal is to be the best fighter you can be, let's say he had a fight coming up where he was going to win, like, I don't know, $50,000 or something crazy, even more, I'd be like, fuck, we can drop powerlifting down to just a supplemental thing. And your main recovery aspect of your training is going to go towards your MMA, whatever you need to do to make yourself the best fighter you can be. So what's the takeaway from this? Well, if you guys are, in that situation, you need to understand that if you want to do this outside thing that's not powerlifting, that can potentially sap from your recovery, and you can control it, so it's not like a job, or you don't have a newborn baby or something like that. I mean, obviously, if you have a job or something that, like, if you work construction, you got to work. Like, what can you do? Then you have to just take what you can get. But if you can accommodate, like, even I have lifters right now, they're telling me, Joey, like, for these last couple weeks leading into nationals, like, the best, whatever split you want to do, like, I will change my schedule around whatever it is you want to do. And that shows me that they're taking this seriously, and they want to, like, I understand if, you need to work as much as you can, but if you're willing to put aside 8, 6, 4, whatever weeks you can to dedicate to being the best you can on a meet, like nationals is cool because it's like there's only going to be one 2017 nationals, like only one. There will never be another 2017. You know what I mean? So you wanna give it your all. You want to do your best. You can make that argument for a lot of things. So the fact that they're willing to dial back on their outside training stuff to maximize their training effect, that's awesome. I actually had another lifter, he's a 120 plus lifter, but he's not a fat guy. He's just massive. He's just huge. Dude is gonna bench 500 pounds at his next meet. His outside training is very demanding. He wakes up at 5 in the morning. He has to train people till 11. I used to train people. You burn so many calories just running around, picking up weights, moving this here, talking to people. You need to be alert for that. And then, he has business meetings, and he doesn't really get into training until later at night. Like, he's sending me his deadlifts at 8 o'clock. And, if you woke up at 5 a.m., 8's it's really late. And the longer you're awake, it could kind of just sap you. That's almost why, or it is why, like, when you're at a meet, if you wake up at the meet at 8 o'clock, you get there, you weigh in at 9, you start your squats. If there's a problem at the meet and the meet takes a long time, and you start deadlifting at 10 p.m., like, your body can only be, like, it's not meant to be ready to lift maximal weight the entire day. It's usually, we train at a certain time of day, so you kind of get ready. Like, I know around 3:30, 4:30, if I don't take my Utopian, then I'm going to get kind of tired, or I'll get really, really antsy, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, oh, like, I want to go train. It's time to train. Because your body knows, when this time rolls around, it's time to go. So him training at 8 o'clock, waking up at 5 a.m., obviously that's not ideal, but it's what he has to do for now. And I've had to be very careful in the amount of volume I give him, especially because he is a bigger guy, and he is very just sensitive to, if he accidentally does too much, he's going to feel it for a week. And it's very easy for him to go over like 1 or 2 sets, boom, that does it. And he's going to feel beat. So what I would like suggest to him is, obviously you got to work, you got to do your thing. That last week going into the meet, we might be able to get more out of a taper, or at least in the weeks where we need to push our training. If you can get good sleep during that time, that's getting 8 hours of sleep as opposed to 5 is gonna make fucking world of difference. So I said, what can you take away from this video? To wrap it up, you guys just need to do what you can to get the most out of your training, if that's what you want. But understand, like, if you're having trouble progressing and you have this crazy outside life, then you might need to cut back on some of that stuff. Going back to my fighter, I told him, if we can't recover and we're on like a bare bones program, then the next thing that has to go is, some of your MMA training, because the body can, like I said, it can only, like, your body can adapt to something, but not if it's like conflicting. You're rarely gonna see a jacked powerlifter running long distance and doing well. It's not gonna happen. You just can't do it. So you got to give a little to get a little in that regard. But that being said, thank you guys so much for listening. Really quickly, podcast number 5 is up. I had to do a lot of edits in that one because she had a pet with her. If you guys want to see that pet, you got to check it out. But it was an interesting podcast. I found some things out about her that I didn't really know. If you made it this far, what are we going to put in the comments? Let me get a hashtag late night grind, because it is 1:50 a.m. And you guys already know this is when I like to get shit done, because everybody's asleep. Except for my international peeps. You guys keep me company when it is nice and late. Anyways, thank you guys so much for listening, and I'll talk to you in the next one.